Welcome to Spirit, Purpose, and Energy. I'm JJ Flizanes, your host. Thank you for downloading today's show, as well as subscribing to this podcast. It really does mean a lot to me, and I've been getting to know you guys a little bit more since some of you are in my 30-day manifestation challenge that I host. This is the third one. It's the second official one because we did a beta test in January, and we will probably do it again in May. So for those of you that have just heard the ads for it in some of the past shows and you have an interest, keep checking in on the podcast or send me a note somewhere, connect with me on Facebook, and I'll let you know whether or not we're doing it again in May or when we're doing it again. So I just want to give a shout out to some of the listeners that have joined the 30-day manifestation challenge: Sarah, Arlia, and Casey Lynn Semler, and Richard D'Ambrosio, and Valerie Marie, and Jessica McDermott. Hopefully I didn't butcher any of your names, and because I could have just said Sarah, Casey, Richard, Valerie, and Jessica. I want to give you guys a shout out and an extra thank you for letting me know that you like the show and that you're enjoying being in our manifestation challenge. I apologize for being a little bit late with this show. It is my birthday weekend. And besides that, I've had in-laws in town for many, many weeks. And I just finished writing my third book. I don't think I've talked about it, but for many of you that are connected with me on Facebook or on the list, you know that I've been entrenched in getting this latest book finished. And I turned it into the publisher on February 13th, and the launch will be in May. And that book is entitled The Invisible Fitness Formula: 5 Secrets to Release Weight and End Body Shame. So I'm quite excited, but that did take up a lot of time, that and juggling my in-laws and now my birthday weekend. So this is a great segue into the show that I'm going to share with you today. It's called The Turning Point. And I actually did a whole podcast, a whole live show called The Turning Point. Once I started Fit to Love and I was doing these recorded sessions for podcasting, I thought, well, wouldn't it be fun to do a live show and sort of reach a different audience and try to marry the two together? And so I had paid for this service. They have a big reach and they do your show for you, but you can go into the studio, into a really high tech, and I've been there and I've recorded there when I was a guest on someone else's show, but I had no desire to drive an hour in one direction to go to the studio. So I just recorded everything from home as I normally do. And the problem for people when you do live shows is you have people who call in and that their sound quality may or may not be good. Then you've got the fact that you're live and you can't edit. So if you screw up, well, you're shit out of luck, basically. So I appreciated that I didn't do the show for too long. I love the topic. I may bring it back in the future. It was called The Turning Point, and it featured on this very first show one of my clients who I had met through her husband at the time, and somewhere along the lines, I've been training him for a while, they got a divorce, and I was quite sad. And then she became my client right before that happened, and so I was sort of torn, although it was very amicable. And she then found the love of her life not too long after that, and I thought it was an inspiring story. And I believe that contrast, this fits right in with law of attraction. Our relationship with contrast determines how resilient you are in your life. If you see a problem as an issue or a trauma that's just going to stick its feet in the mud and not move, and you're going to think about it all the time, and it's going to rule your life, and you're going to feel badly about it, and you're going to concentrate on it, you're going to focus on it, then contrast, you try to avoid it because it wrecks you. But if you can see contrast as the next step to the next place, it's necessary. And then you get to feel into, what is this teaching me? What is it that I'm not doing that I want to do, that this needed to happen? When your relationship with contrast changes, you're happier longer, and you don't become a victim to circumstance. You recognize that circumstance, if you will, it's law of attraction, it's not circumstance, but you recognize that it has its place and that there's a reason for it, and that it is actually a gift. Because if you ultimately want to go down one path, but you're heading in a different direction, your higher self, God, the universe, source, put you in a situation where your contrast gets you right back on track or get you to the next level. That's a gift. And I don't believe we can live life without contrast. I mean, Abraham would say, we're about expansion, and we're always expanding. And you can't stop. Even if you don't like it, too bad. Get used to it. Figure out how to ride the wave. And I think that's why most people are attracted to law of attraction, because they think it's going to make me happier. And it can, if you understand it. And if you utilize what contrast means and don't make it into a big hairy deal more than it needs to be, and that you see it as a way to get to the next level and sort of climb the mountain and see the vista, see the view, because it's really pretty on the other side, and not get so enamored about the actual contrast or the actual mountain. It's just there to help you. It's not really there to hurt you. It's there to guide you. You called it in, you asked for it in some way, shape, or form, whether it be subconscious or conscious, and I promise it's a gift. And you designed it, so nobody else did it for you. You did it. And I think if you look at life like that, you'll always come out on top. You'll always feel great. You'll always figure a way around it. You'll use your contrast. Not that I'm saying you're never going to be upset or unhappy or triggered. Not at all, of course. But the time you spend being upset about it or feeling victimized by it or brooding about it or directing your life in that way shortens. And that's the resiliency that comes with this work. That's what the resiliency of seeing from this lens, looking at the world in this way, provides for you. It's a practice. That's why I started the 30-day manifestation challenge for myself and for others, because just like exercise, you get better at it the more you do it. So I hope you enjoyed today's show. Today's show, The Turning Point. For those of you that don't know, I started a live call-in radio show on LA Talk Radio on Wednesdays at noon Pacific time on April 8th. And I wanted to share with you the very first show so that you would know it existed in case you would like to call in and have a conversation with me live, because on these shows for the Fit to Love podcast show, they're all pre-recorded, so that is not possible. However, if you'd love to have a conversation with me, I would love to feature your stories, and you can hear more within the show, so I won't take this any longer than it needs to be. The Turning Point is a 50-minute audio show, so this podcast will be a little bit longer, but I wanted to introduce you to my new show. So hopefully in the near future, I'll be able to talk with all of you. Enjoy the show. Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
Listening to The Turning Point with JJ Flizanes, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Welcome to The Turning Point. I'm your host, JJ Flizanes. The Turning Point is a show about those breakthrough moments, big and small, that change the direction of our lives. Whether it be a triumph, an aha, or a bridge from one chapter of our lives to the next, this show will be the place where we can share and celebrate those pivotal moments. Are you looking for a turning point? As you tune in, you may be inspired to call in, and together we can uncover what might be your next turning point. The call-in number for this show is 323-203-0815. You can also find that phone number listed on the website, latalkradio.com. Welcome to the premiere show of The Turning Point. I am so excited to have you listening and to have us having this conversation. I think it's so important that we all come together to share those pivotal moments, as I talked about in this intro, that change our lives. I think we minimize, we overlook, we forget, we don't take the time to celebrate how all of those contrasting moments that we experience through our lives really guide us on to the next greatest thing. I was thinking today about what to share with you on this premiere show for those of you that are new to me and you've never heard of me or heard me speak or seen me on TV or on my podcast show or in person speaking. And the brief overview, and especially about this show, is that everything I do really comes down to that self-love and appreciation that has to do with health, fitness, exercise, consciousness, emotion, relationships with others and with yourself. So that's the umbrella under which we're going to talk about turning points. From now until whenever this show may or may not end, I want to illuminate all of those moments where, when you're struggling, you think you're the only one who's experiencing it. We feel alone. We feel different. And sometimes there's shame involved with that because we may think that we've done something wrong. And what's really happening is that in that moment or in that time span of the contrast of your life, you're blossoming into something new. And it's only until we get to the other side of that that we actually can look back and appreciate what it is that we've gone through. And so I want to celebrate those moments of our turning points. I also want to illuminate and share with others just the everyday turning points that we all have. I know lots of people look for inspiration, motivation, community, partnership with people who may be going through some of the same things that you're going through. And maybe you're looking for a turning point. And so this show can offer you inspiration from some of the guests that I'm going to have come on to the show. You can call in and we can try to find your turning point. If there's something that you think you're right on the edge of, or you just want to share and allow others to see and know where you've come from, and that if you can do it, we can do it. And if I can do it, you can do it. And that's the point of the turning point. So I wanted to start off today by sharing probably one of the most pivotal turning points of my life in my own consciousness and spiritual guide, if you will. It was about 2000. I moved from New York to California in 2000. And I met my first life coach probably around 2002. And it was somewhere between, I'll say 2002 and 2003 that she introduced me to the work of Abraham Hicks. And she gave me a CD, and I played the CD in my car because I drive for a living. I work with people as a personal trainer and coach, and I was driving all over California. So I was listening to the CD over and over again. And when I first heard this phrase, "You are the creator of your own reality," it hit me in such a deep way. I was forever changed. That moment, that reality, you are the creator of your own reality, gave me the most amount of power I think I've ever experienced. Because it meant that if I didn't like something, I could change it. And that meant if I wanted something, that I could create it. It was limitless. And for me, freedom and expansion and opportunity and choice, those are all very important to me. For some people, community, structure, we all have different things we gravitate towards in terms of what helps us to feel comforted and excited and safe and fully expressed. And for me, hearing those words, they changed my life. There's no other way to say it. You are the creator of your own reality. I just kept that mantra all the time. So when something would happen and I didn't like it, I'd say, okay, I don't like this. So now what? Well, I get to change it. Well, how did I create it in the first place? And it just led me down a path that ever since, life's been different. I can remember growing up thinking that other people were responsible for my happiness, that other people could affect my emotions, could affect my destiny, could affect what I did. And in fact, I remember when I was in elementary school and junior high, I used to think I was a great communicator. And I would wear the badge of honor, like I'm a great communicator, because if I was upset, I'd be the person to say, excuse me, you made me angry, and this is why. And sort of put it on their lap as if they're the ones that need to change in order to ease my emotions. And I look back at that thinking, wow, I didn't realize what a victim I was back then. I was blaming everybody for how I felt. But that's kind of the state of our consciousness for a lot of people. And until someone shares with you some information. So that coach, my coach, Carol Chanel, I love her. Carol, I hope you're listening. And if not, I know she'll hear this. I had her on as a guest for my show, the Fit to Love podcast show, twice. And she just really is a beautiful soul and someone who changed my life by giving me this CD. Beyond her amazing coaching, that CD and that introduction into this work had a turning point that really made a drastic change in what my life looks like now versus what it looked like then. How my state of happiness is, how I behave, how I see the world, how I problem solve, how I have relationships. So thank you, Carol Chanel, for that very important turning point of handing me that Abraham Hicks CD. And thank you, Abraham Hicks, for the words, "You are the creator of your own reality." Now, because that's a turning point for me, and it made such a big difference for me, I know that it doesn't necessarily translate like that to others. You may hear that and feel fear. You may feel, well, I'm the creator of my own reality. Well, oh, that's scary. See, for me, I felt freedom, but for you, you may feel fear. So this show is designed to share all different kinds of points of view because we all hear things differently. We all interpret things on different levels. And so I know that just because it means something to me doesn't necessarily mean it's going to mean that way to you. And if you're listening and you've got a turning point that you think is so powerful that you'd like to share, and even if you don't think it's powerful, let's not put that judgment on it. Just something, because I didn't have any major thing happen when I was going through whatever I was going through to get this CD and to listen to these words. I don't remember if it was something about a relationship with a guy or if it was about my business. Like, that's the funny thing, is that I don't even remember what the contrast was that brought me to the point where I heard these words. And I heard these words as I was driving my car. It wasn't like a major breakthrough where, I had an emotional reaction. It just happened. But it was so cellular. My whole body responded. It just knew, this is the truth. You are the creator of your own reality. And I loved having that power. I loved having that choice. So if you have a breakthrough, you have an aha, you have something in your life that's happened, I want to hear about it, and I want you to share it with others, especially women. I'm not trying to exclude the men, because you guys are troopers, and you keep heading forward, and there's things that you don't allow to get in your way that some of us women do. But it's the women who like to minimize, because we're the nurturers and we want to put everyone else on the pedestal and we want to honor and celebrate other people. But I want to bring more celebration to everybody. I want everyone to celebrate those moments in your life, because we all are looking for happiness. How many times do you see books and titles of talks and conversations about happiness as if it's outside of you? It's not. It's inside of you. But until we take and turn the direction of what we're looking at inward, to find it, to see it, to acknowledge it, then we can't experience it. So in this show, with these stories, whether it be my story, a guest story, or your story, I know that it will change someone's life. I know that it will give them the inspiration they need for that day. It'll be that verbal hug that somebody needed, because they know they're not alone going through something that they think is so hard. They feel so disconnected. But when they hear your story, they're going to say, wow, I feel like that. And I'm so happy to hear that there's somebody else going through it too. So I invite you to call in. I invite you to write to me. If you have something you want to hear about, maybe you're not ready. Maybe you think that you're in the midst of something and it's too difficult to talk about, or you're embarrassed, which I understand. So you can send me an email at any point. info@invisiblefitness.com is the best email. Again, that's info@invisiblefitness.com, and let me know what the topics are that you're interested in. Every week, I'm probably going to jump back and forth from different topics. Today, the topic is going to center around self-care in both exercise and relationships. And so the guest that I have coming on today, she is a client of mine, so I'm looking forward to having her call in. And I am so impressed and inspired by all of the different turning points that I've witnessed just over the past couple of years with her. And that transformation, especially where she is in life and in her career, if you look at her story, you might think, oh, if you're in her shoes, you might say, oh, it's too late for me, or I've tried too many times. And I was so inspired by the courage and the decisions that really were in the direction of happiness and not preservation, but honoring yourself by making difficult choices that in the end honor who you are and your life on this planet at this time. So some of the other things we may discuss that you can bring up. I have I have another show. It's the Fit to Love podcast show. You can find it on iTunes or go to fit2love.tv. That's the number 2. And on that show, I discuss everything, exercise, fitness, cooking, nutrition, and everything from addiction to spirituality to mindset. So we're going to cover all kinds of topics. And I think I have our first guest here with us now. Eleanor?
Hello, lovely Miss JJ.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk about you.
Congratulations on your new show. I'm very honored to be your first guest. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, really, when you asked me, what are we going to talk about? There's so many breakthroughs and turning points that I've witnessed you have in the last couple of years that I'm going to ask you which one, we're not going to talk about just one, but which one of them do you think is the most monumental?
Well, and I also want to say that I owe a lot of this to you, too. So you are phenomenal and fabulous. I am very proud to call you my friend because you've witnessed a lot of these changes. Oh, where do I start? Well, I think probably the most earth-shattering for me is moving out of a relationship that wasn't working and never expecting to find love again, and finding the love of my life that I would do anything for. And so that required a lot of change. I left a relationship of 20 years. I moved out of a house that I loved dearly, but things are so much better now because I said at the beginning of 2013, I can't live with the grief that I've been living with on a variety of levels. I just have to open myself up to the universe, and love just came my way, and I've known you for many years, and I said, let's bring JJ in on this as well because I wanted to look better and feel better, and I think just opening up my heart and letting the universe come to me made a big difference.
The change in you from before to after, just in your energy, was so obvious. And I want to paint the picture for those that don't know you. Tell us a little bit more about you, what you do, and then kind of start a little bit. We don't have to make this, every detail, but let's just give the overview of what life was like for you, who you are, what you do, and what life was like for you 3 to 4 years ago. You can go back 20 years, but okay. Go ahead.
All right. I am an architectural and design historian, and I've done that for about 25 years. So I teach at UCLA. I teach at Santa Monica College. I have a consulting practice. And before that, I was a forensic accountant, and that field gave me a lot of ability to do what I do now, which is break down why something should look the way it does in architecture or design or furniture or whatever I'm talking about. And so the changes have all come about from within, and so I've always enjoyed having my own business, and also teaching allows me a lot of freedom, and that's really important to me. And I set up my life originally to be able to have this kind of consulting practice. I think I would die if I were in a 9-to-5. That works just fine for a lot of people. But I had a lot of freedom in the past 20 years to do what I wanted to do and was able to develop my job. And then in the last couple of years, I've just had so much more energy for making decisions to do what I want to do. I have always had a lot of freedom, but it just made such a difference to be in a place where I have a man who loves me and is totally accepting of me. And also we have so much in common as well. So he is very much into art and architecture, and we have a lot of fun speaking to each other about these things. But the energy is so much more there now. And JJ, not only you, but everybody has told me that, because I've just decided to get rid of all the negativity, to get rid of the poisons. What's that expression where we get rid of toxic people in our life? So decided, no, I don't want any more toxic people. I want to have only positive things now. And it's been a crazy roller coaster ride, don't get me wrong, but I've always been happy at work, and now I've got a totally fulfilled personal relationship and the best friends on earth. So I don't have any family. Everybody's died. And so I adore my friends who are my family and my uplifting spirit.
So for the people who are listening out there who are not in a relationship that's fulfilling, can we talk a little bit about, again, where you were? Because everyone can hear the passion and joy and love that you have right now. And I don't want to necessarily focus on the negative, but again, the show is the turning point. So I want for people who are where you were. Let's talk about where you were 2 years ago. And you can even go back because this is not your second marriage. Right?
Keep going, JJ.
Right. So Eleanor, well, you can tell the story. This, because it paints the picture, really, it paints the picture of, I can imagine so many other women and men in your situation with what's happened, what you've gone through in your life, who would give up, who would be where you were and say, it's too late. I've tried too many times. Right?
No, never too late. I, for some reason, had chosen men that weren't right for me, and I think everybody's done that. And so the place I've been in the last few years, it's never, ever too late to get out of anything. I am a huge, huge advocate for people who are trying to leave an abusive relationship, and I understand. I been there. I understand what it's like and how difficult that is. And I thought after this last marriage, I thought, that's it. I'm done. It's not going to happen. I'm perfectly happy and fulfilled where I am. I have a wonderful career, wonderful friends. And I've told this to so many people, when you stop looking, it appears. So don't be out there searching. When you just give it up to the universe, love and everything good comes your way. So, like I said, I was done. It's like, I am not ever doing this again. I told all my friends, don't let me get married again. Don't let me do this. And that's when the most perfect man on the face of the earth came along into my life. So never too late. Do what you want to do. There are ways out. You get your friends' support, and there's always a better turn around the corner.
Well, and it took a little while for you to get there, right? I mean, it's not
2 years,
right? And so, because the last marriage, who was to someone who I know and adore as well, but I knew that, and you can tell when you guys were good friends. You were good friends, and so there was a lot of disconnection. In other important areas of life, and I remember, but you both cared about each other, and you still do, and so I just remember, I mean, I liked the two of you, and when I heard you were getting divorced, I was very sad, and I thought, wow, I wish that everybody wanted to try. And at first that sadness was just because I didn't understand. And then once I started to see the transformation in you and how your energy shifted, I was so happy for you. And I thought, wow, this is what's supposed to happen. Cause I like to be the provider of, like, work things out and what's the lesson in this. But then I just thought, but look how happy and look how grounded and look how much stress has been lifted. And now everyone gets to be free and do what they want to do. So.
And this also speaks to you that I'm incredibly private. As much of a public figure as I am, I hold my cards close to the bone here. I hold them close to my chest. And to be able to open up about stuff like that only to help others and to also give a testimony to what a good agent of change you are, JJ. This was pretty much a friendship marriage and a great deal of respect for each other, but it was two friends who had gotten married. And it was not a passionate relationship. It was not right for either one of us, but I say we stayed together for the sake of the house. And it's okay. I wasn't right for him. He wasn't right for me. We had many happy years together, but it just wasn't a right relationship. And we still have great respect for each other. But it was that passion that came my way. I was totally taken by surprise. And that's what, you and I have talked about so many times, is that there's just so many openings in your life that if you just listen, they'll be there. Just listen to your heart and allow the good things to come into your life.
That's great advice. And when we get back from commercial, which we're going to go to in about a minute, I want you to share with people, we're going to talk about those moments because, again, the darkness of before that comes, right? What's the advice? How do we survive? How do you get through? How do you do the moments that aren't good? And what are you focusing on? But we're going to get back to that in 1 minute. But first, we need to thank our sponsors. Do you love listening to audiobooks? Or do you think you'd read more if you could listen to them? Well, for you listeners, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. With over 150,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. To download your free audiobook today, go to fit2lovebook.com. That's FIT, the number 2, LOVE, book.com to get your free audiobook with your free 30-day trial to Audible. If you're unhappy with your trial and you don't want to continue, you get to cancel before the 30 days are over and keep your free audiobook. It is 100% risk-free. So go to fit2lovebook.com. That's FIT, the number 2, LOVEBOOK.com to get your free audiobook today. Okay, Eleanor. So in those deep, dark moments that people are suffering in relationships that aren't working for them, and maybe they've given up, they've said what you said, which was never let me get married again, right? You told your friends, never let me get married again. So they're in that moment. How did you cope? How did you survive? What did you cling to?
Work. I love my work. I love everything that I do. I've always thrown myself in completely to my work, and it's something that will distract you, not in a bad way, but rather to help you get over those bad periods, because while something is not going right in your private life, this helps you work on your public life, your work, and that energy can be focused into something positive. And that doesn't necessarily have to be work. It can be volunteer work. It can be something that you're passionate about. It can be helping others. But to distract yourself from what is not going well in your life, take that energy and put it into something that can work well in your life. And that's what I did. And now I have this wonderful career and all sorts of great things happening for me. And I attribute a lot of that building up of my career to just focusing on that when times were not so good in my personal life.
And you mentioned surrounding yourself with friends, with really good friends and community, since you don't have family around you. And obviously you would recommend that that people do that as well.
Absolutely. And like I mentioned, I hold my cards very close to the chest, so I have a lot of acquaintances and people that I absolutely adore, but I have a core of the best friends on the face of the earth. My husband made a wonderful comment one time when he had first met my friends, and he said, "Wow, your friends are so devoted to you." And I said, "I'm totally devoted to them." And these are the ones that picked me up in the hardest times and listened. And, we all have friends that come in for a reason, friends that come in for a season, and the ones that are there for you. I always say you really find out who your friends are when you're sick and when you get a divorce. And those ones that stick around in both arenas, those are the ones that you treasure. And whether it be just somebody to turn to and sob on their shoulder a little while, you get to a point where you don't want to torture them with all of your worries and, have time for them to go to lunch, go to breakfast. We've all got those friends that you just can tell your deepest, darkest secrets to. And since I didn't have any family to hold on to, I have some extended family, but these people around me, of which I can count, on one hand, they're my strength, and I cultivated them, and that made a difference to have that support system. So whoever it is, even if you have to call into a helpline or get connected on a volunteer basis or join an organization or cultivate those friends, or your family members as well. Those are the ones to hang on to. That's what my parents were to me. They were just my rock, and both of them are gone now, and so I had to focus on my friends, whom I absolutely adore, and you're one of them.
Thank you. So I have to ask, though, because lots of people don't have, like you, family around or even close friends. How long did it take to cultivate those friendships?
I've made the best friends through my association at UCLA Extension, where I teach, and many of my students have become my friends, and many of my colleagues have become my friends. There's something about the design field that brings beauty out in people. I have the best life. I get to research beautiful things all day, and then I get to talk about them to my students in class and to my clients. And I think there's just that attitude of having such a wonderful field to be in. So that brings a lot of closeness in the particular field that I'm in. And then, like any relationship, things just develop to be of kindred spirits, and that you can share just a look at each other and something fun, happy, silly has happened in the background. And so I just been very fortunate with the closeness that I've had of these few friends that I've got, and I'm very lucky.
Did you make a conscious decision to find them, or did you just sort of attract them?
That's a very good question. It happened because I'm always, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of, I'm a little bit hard to crack that shell. As outgoing and as friendly as I am, and I love people, I just let a few in. I don't know why that's the way I was raised. Maybe my Midwestern mother and Southern father, that just to hold everything very close. And these were people of the Depression. These are people of World War II. And that's that generation that just sucked it up. And so I think I learned a lot of that from them. But these friends have just developed. And I have to say that probably the bulk of them are my wonderful gay entourage, and they have just made the best friends. So I think, I'm not a threat. I'm their resident hag. And so they've just been all so wonderful to me. So they just developed. Friendships just develop. And so that's how it kind of happened.
Well, that's great. I think it's all about attraction too, and whether it was a conscious or unconscious call for them, right? You wanted support, and I think that people experience that in different ways, but I think that's great. I want to, since we talked about this transformation, one of the other transformations I do want to talk about and turning points for you, and I want you to speak to that for anyone listening. While you were married to the last husband, who I, again, know and love, he was very concerned about your back and you being strong and exercising, and really wanted you to exercise. And so those of you who know me or Eleanor, and if you knew her a couple years ago or even now, I might be allergic. Oh, yes. While I didn't doubt your love for me, you would not touch me with a 10-foot pole. I was her ex-husband's personal trainer, and she would call me his girlfriend, and and we had a lovely relationship. But the idea of exercise for Eleanor was like, no, I climb the stairs in my house, and that's enough. And so I was shocked, literally, when you reached out and said, okay, I'm ready for you. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, she wants to work on the back pain. And I'm researching and I'm looking up and I'm getting ready. And then I meet with you and you're like, oh, I want to make this look better. And I'm like, this look better. And it had nothing to do with back pain. So let's go with, why were you allergic to exercise? What was the resistance about exercise before?
So here's where it all came about. I'd been in a really, really bad automobile accident in about 1981, and have had back pain my entire life and have worked with chiropractors. And then I'd had 2 or 3 trainers who just didn't understand how painful that can be. And they worked me way too hard, to the point that I would cancel appointments because I was in so much pain, beyond muscle pain. This went to bone pain. And so I just kind of gave up that way. I just figured I'm so active anyway, and I'm kind of naturally thin anyway. And then I had a couple of things happen where I came to you, JJ, where, first of all, I wanted to look better because I had a new man. And then I was, at that point, reaching 60, and I thought, well, I better kind of start working on that bone stuff, too. And then just to take care of myself, look better, feel better, and not be so out of shape or so flabby. And you are the best because you allowed me to work to the point where I could do it and not keep pushing me. It's like 5 more that other trainers would do, or exercises that just weren't right for me. They were just so painful and not working the right muscles, not only with my injury, but also my particular body issues. And you just let it be. It's like I say, JJ, I'm done. That's enough. Thank you. And you say, okay, that's fine. Let's go on to the next exercise. So it's none of this, pumping it up and 5 more and do this and do that. You just allow it to be. And that's why I was able to work with you, because you just understand somebody's personal issues. Now, others may want to be pushed, but I just have so much damage in my spine that you are and are the best fit for me. And besides, now I look incredible in a bathing suit. Thank you so much, JJ. I bow down to you, my goddess.
Oh, that's so sweet. And I really enjoy working with you. But I remember I thought, there's no way in hell she's gonna. I was like, oh, I'd love to work with Eleanor, and it was like, no, you mean you literally looked at me and would laugh. You would laugh. I mean, this is like This is what I mean about the turning point. Like I would be like, Eleanor, when am I ever gonna see you? And you'd be like, oh, you're so funny.
And I'd run. I'd run. It's like, oh, aren't you cute? Aren't you sweet, JJ? Thank you so much. And then I'd just hightail it out of there before you and the previous got going on me. And I think a lot of that was just, no, I'm not going to do what you tell me to do, speaking to the ex.
Yes.
I think he was wanting me to do it for his personal trophy wife issue. And I didn't want to go down that route. So it wasn't more of a to heck with you kind of thing. But like I said, I got my new man candy and want to look good.
Well, and I love that you just said that, because I used to train couples when I was in New York City, and I remember, or actually trained the wife, and the guy was with somebody else, but the husband kept buying the sessions for the wife. And I remember asking her once, and she didn't want to be pushed either. And not that it's not about you being pushed, it's about you deciding how far you want to be pushed, right? But she didn't even really want to go anywhere. And I asked her, I said, why are you doing this? And she goes, because my husband tells me I need to. Or that and I thought, oh my gosh, as much as I am an exerciser and believing in taking care of your body, I would tell him to go to hell. Like I would, exactly. You don't. So I understand the need for autonomy and to decide on your own when you're going to do it for the reasons that you're going to do it, and not to have someone tell you that you should, or that they want you to look a different way. So I would totally respect and understand and appreciate the resistance. Right. I wasn't trying to pressure you. I just liked you, and I wanted you to, and I wanted to help if you wanted to help. So.
Thank you, JJ. I appreciate that. No, I wasn't ready yet. And I think I had that bottom line fear of being put in a position where I was just in pain after exercise. And you know exactly what to do. You know the right things to do. You know the right ththings to say. And we have such a good time when we talk with each other. The time goes really fast as well. With other trainers, like, oh my God, when's this time going to go by? Oh God, it was awful. And with you, it's part girlfriend time. And then I keep at it. And as you know, there was a period when I just wasn't sure if I was going to continue with this, because I was so out of shape that just a few little exercises, I was exhausted. And then little by little, I kept meeting with you, and we do a little bit more each week, and you would respect me when I said, I just can't do this. I was so out of shape that I was even nauseous a few times, but I also felt an obligation to you. I know that's kind of an odd thing to say, but you're my friend, and I felt that, well, you've invested your time with me. I'm going to keep this up a little bit longer. I had lost 30 pounds anyway, so I already fit into my clothes much better. But now I was starting to get definition. Oh, my goodness, JJ, I've got abs. Thank you. And it's like, I looked at that in the mirror, I was like, Dang, JJ, you did your work. I was so surprised when I looked in the mirror one day. It's like, okay, we're going. I'm set. We're going. Crank it up there, JJ. So I think all those factors together made it all come together. So you and the way you work with people, my wanting to look better, just being in better shape, and I'm never going to admit to being 60. I just turned 35.
Yep. Yep. Well, and I have to say, thinking back to that time, I remember exactly the time you're talking about, you sort of pitching a fit about saying, I don't think this is for me. I don't exercise. I'm not an exerciser. I don't do this. And I remember, because actually, Eleanor, that was a turning point for me, because you're the first person that I ever decided, okay, we need to work this differently. Remember, I had you lay down and I talked you through sort of a meditation. Yeah. And I had you visualize why you ever called me in the first place and what it is that you wanted. And we went back to that moment. Right. And I had never done that with anybody. So I just thought, well, I need to remind you, I want you to remind you of why you ever picked up the phone in the first place to say, okay, I'm ready. And so rather than focusing on the frustration or of the future and the fear, we did this sort of I had her lay down on the floor and she closed her eyes and I walked her through sort of an energetic movement of energy through her body, and then a visualization and what, if you could take the wand and put it over your body, and what would you change, and what do you look like? What do you feel like? And then you start to talk yourself back into, okay, well, maybe I can do this.
And you had to decompress me, too, because I'm so high-powered. I run in, okay, now we're going to exercise, and then I got to go back out to do something else in an hour. And so I just needed that decompression period. And now I've rearranged my schedule so that I'm not running into you, JJ, and say, okay, let's do it, okay, and then leave immediately. So now I've got a little bit of time to decompress before I see you, and I'm much more malleable now.
Thank you for reminding me about that, because actually we stopped doing that, and you were the first person I did that with too, because I thought, as an Aquarius, those of you that are listening, any of you air signs that are very spinning in your head, and lots of thoughts going on and lots of ideas and lots of energy in your mind and your head, in order for you to actually connect with your body, I had to slow you down. And the only way I knew to do that was to talk you down in a meditative kind of way to connect with your body, so that way you could even absorb the exercise. I mean, you can't be mindful and connect your muscles if your brain is nowhere near your body.
Right.
And so there were some things that actually working with you taught me, and those were some of those, is taking the spinning sort of energy of, yes, I'm going to fit you in between classes and going to lecture here, and I was like, whoa, okay, we need to like all of a sudden, like the yoga guru in me came out. And I'm like, okay, we need to slow it down and put you in your body. And I'd never done that either with anybody. Yeah. So I appreciate the opportunity to learn from you what other people may need.
We all learn from each other. I often say I learn more from my students than they ever learn from me. And I think the same thing, teacher and master here, we learn from each other.
Well, and that's why I'm having this show, because I think that, on the Fit to Love podcast show, I've got all kinds of experts and people coming on in the fields. But this show is going to be everybody. And it's because we all have things we can teach and learn from each other. Absolutely. And we all have moments that I can identify myself in you and vice versa. And I don't want those moments to pass, because you don't have to be a doctor or an expert in a certain field to have something to share that could possibly transform someone else's life.
Yes. We've all had that moment where somebody said something that just made the light bulb go on. And so I thank you profusely, JJ, for everything you've done for me.
Well, thank you so much, Eleanor, for coming on the show. As you said multiple times, you keep everything nice and tight and close. And not only are you here talking about some of it, you allowed me to interview you and put you in the second edition of Fit to Love. So you're in the book, which, by the way, you'll get your hard copy tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. But I appreciate you, because again, I was inspired. I was inspired by all the things that you had the courage to change in your life. And I saw what it did to your energy. I saw how it lighted you up. I saw how it calmed you down. I saw how, and that is it. I mean, it doesn't matter what the story is. It matters that you're heading in the direction of self-fulfillment, if you will, and sort of releasing what's not working and having the courage to say, this isn't working anymore, and I have to move on in whatever area of your life. And so I was inspired by that, and I wanted to share you with the world.
Well, thank you so much. So I think you said the right thing. We have to have courage. Just have courage. So, all right. Thank you, my love. It was a great pleasure.
Before you leave us, just in case, because people have heard you talk about art and art history, where can they find you if they're interested in checking out what it is you do?
Well, if they want to go to EleanorSchrader.com, ELEANOR, Schrader, SCHRADER.com. They can find me there. Sign up for my tours list. We do a lot of fun things around LA, things that are oftentimes not open to the public, so you get special access with me. And I'm on Facebook, like you, and Twitter, whatever it is.
Yeah, you're on Twitter. Someone else.
I am. Okay, I just have to figure out how to do this. I'm very lucky. I have a wonderful social media team who helps me twit or whatever it is that we do, tweet. So anyway, I'm out there, EleanorSchrader.com, and I would love to hear from others of those people who adore and love you, JJ.
Oh, and she also has a meetup group. You can look. What's your meetup group?
It's LA Decorative Arts, Architecture, and Interior Design. So meetup LA Decorative Arts.
And she also takes tours all over the world.
Yep,
so you forgot to mention that you take people to France and they take people to all kinds of fun places.
Oh, yes.
So if you want to take an architectural tour with Eleanor, please make sure to check her out. Eleanor, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I so love
pleasure.
You.
I love you.
Okay.
See you tomorrow.
Okay, see you
Bye.
Tomorrow. Oh, I just really enjoyed sharing that story. Her energy before the transformation was scattered, but not in a nervous, I need to stay above the ground kind of way, because if I settle down, I won't like what I see. And so I wasn't able to have these kinds of conversations with her before. Not that I had time or space. We would go to dinner occasionally all together. But again, and I was shocked when I transformed my own reaction to her divorce from sadness to joy and inspiration. I just was so inspired. So hopefully that you got something out of that today, whether it be motivation to reconsider your relationship, which can be really scary. And I know we didn't focus on the scary parts, but it can be really scary to be in a relationship that you aren't happy in. And, by the way, what we didn't talk about, and it's on my Fit to Love show, sometimes those can be transformed and you don't have to rely on anyone else. And we'll talk about that on another show. So I want to thank you for tuning in to The Turning Point. We are on live every Wednesday at noon Pacific time and 3 p.m. Eastern. You can find archives of the show at latalkradio.com as well as on iTunes. This show was sponsored in part by the Fit to Love podcast show at fit2love.tv. And if this show inspired you, I'd love for you to share it and invite anyone you know to call in who's got a story that we can all celebrate and learn from. And if you want to email me ahead of time to let me know that you're going to call in, again, that's info@invisiblefitness.com. I want to close the show with a section of the poem from Marianne Williamson's A Return to Love. Our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. As we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. I look forward to connecting with you all again next week. Thank you again for tuning in to Spirit, Purpose, and Energy. If you're inspired and want more, come on over to fit2love.tv and check out our Freedom Fridays or find us on iTunes. More at Fit to Love, physical, emotional, and spiritual fitness for the happy life you deserve.